Welcome. It's hard to believe our semester is almost over. I wanted to give you a brief overview of what you're going to be doing this week and give you some more things to reflect on from my perspective as your instructor as well. So remember, you're writing and reviewing the 4 major sections of your textbook this week, 1 to 2 pages each, so it ends up being 4 to 8 pages total. You'll be submitting that at the end of the week. I wanted to give you a few things to think about for these 4 sections. First is the importance of early intervention and also our public policies. We know that early intervention is key, so you are the most important educators that there are. By the time a child is in 3rd grade or 8th grade or high school, it's too late. There are some things that are happening by that point where they will never reach their full potential. Whereas if we can get these students the services they need early and well, a lot of times these children are going to reach their full potential, and sometimes they may not even need special education for all of their school years. It may just be for a period of time to get them back to where they need to be in order to not be within special education. So important. If we want our children to reach their fullest potential, it needs to start with you. Our public policies in the United States are strong as well when it comes to supporting students with disabilities. Because of that, we have a lot of amazing individuals doing awesome and awe-inspiring things each day. I'm going to reflect back at the end on a video. Please watch this. A few of you, I'm sure, have seen this video before, but some of you have not. I'm going to give you a follow-up as well. So this video is about Carly, who has autism. She got a lot of early and intensive therapies. And at first, you might think, wow, and the people that worked with her thought, I think she has pretty profound disabilities and isn't really understanding, but she was. And if they would not have been giving her a good education still, she would have been missing all of that knowledge. So we never know. Just because a student can't communicate with us or show us that they're learning, either academically or socially, it does not mean that they are not. Please stay with me for part of that video, and then I'm going to show you a follow-up to what Carly is doing today, which is very, very inspiring as well. When we think about likenesses and differences among children, we know that in order to be fully inclusive, we need to recognize and honor and work with those differences. However, there are some similarities that we all have. I'm going to take myself off the screen for a moment and show you. This is William Glasser's basic needs. So William Glasser is a psychologist. He said there's 5 basic human needs. And this is for everyone, whether we're talking about a 1-year-old or a 50-year-old. Look at this. So even before, Maslow's hierarchy, and some of those, they say, well, first it's, food and shelter. Say no, one of 5 basic needs is love and belonging. So the need to be respected, to have a collaboration, to have some acceptance and some friendships and some love. That's a big part of our work as teachers, whether you're teaching college, middle school, elementary, preschool, or infants. So be thinking about what can we do each and every day, and that will go a long way to helping with behavioral problems or academic problems as well. We need to know that the teachers we work with care. Next is power. That looks different at different ages, but that means giving them some choice. Do you want the applesauce or the apple slices? Would you like to wear these shoes or those shoes? It might be something that's simple when they're little, but giving some choice, having some roles, maybe having those classroom jobs and making sure they all get to practice all of those jobs in a fair way is going to give them some power. Having fun. So school should always be fun. And for these little ones, are they doing silly puppets and songs and dances and arts and things that they're going to be passionate and love? That's very, very important. Survival, that's what we think of in general. Are they eating enough? Are they adequately clothed? And so on. And then freedom. So power, again, would be letting them have some autonomy, doing some things on their own. And freedom, again, giving them some choices, giving them some opportunities to be independent. So we always need this, and when we're little is no exception to that. It just looks a little different at each age. Next, we have planning for inclusion. This is just to recap things we've talked about already. But when you think about having an inclusive environment, make sure that we are providing accommodations for children. So that's things, maybe one child needs larger print due to a vision impairment or needs to be more mobile. An accommodation would be the same information or the same general expectations, but with an accommodation for their needs. Sometimes we need to modify content. So there may be times when a child or an adult just cannot do the traditional lesson, and then we need to actually change part of that lesson or activity. So be thinking about ways that we can accommodate and modify. That can include the content, so learning something totally different. It could be the process. I talked about this a bit in the gifted lecture as well. So how quick, how slow, how deep we go with lessons. The product, so how they're showing their learning. And then the actual environment. So we talked a lot about how to create an inclusive environment. And then last, a couple things I wanted to highlight about implementing inclusive early childhood programs. It needs to be about those relationships. That's not just the relationships with children, but with your coworkers, with the directors, with the community, with the families. You will make much more progress that way. Thinking about how we create the structure both to our lessons and to our environment and reinforce the types of behaviors that we're looking for. We used some activities such as pbisworld.com and some of those other resources to help with how we can reinforce different behaviors. And then remember developmentally appropriate practices. We say this all the time in early childhood education, but we're not just talking about, 3-year-olds should be doing this or 5-year-olds should be doing that. Remember, part of being developmentally appropriate is that full inclusion and all of that differentiation for what a student needs. And so there are going to be times that we are going to have to modify that quite a lot for one student or another. Without further ado, I do want to show you Carly. So be thinking about full inclusion, be thinking about ways to reinforce the behaviors that we're looking for, and be thinking about how important it is to teach all children to the best of our abilities, not assuming that they do or don't know something based on what they're able to verbalize or show us right away. As a follow-up to that, we're going to show you what Carly is doing today. So it's a powerful story of a student who I would say is not only doing great things as a woman with autism, but she's also a very gifted and talented woman. So I will show you that now.
When you can't sit still because your legs feel like they're on fire, or it feels like 100 ants are crawling up your arms.
How is it that these powerful words came out of this flailing body?
People look at me and assume I am dumb because I can't talk.
Something extraordinary happened to this 14-year-old who was written off as mentally deficient, something that may help unlock the mysteries of a baffling disorder.
What do I want? I want to be like every other kid, but I can't because I am Carly.
Born in Toronto, Canada, Carly Fleischman was 2 years old when it became clear she was not keeping up with her twin sister Taryn.
When you're told your child is going to be developmentally delayed, that they might achieve the developmental level of a 6-year-old, it's like being kicked in the gut.
When Arthur Fleischman and his wife Tammy learned the diagnosis was autism, they expected the worst, that the twins were headed in different directions.
And how bad did it get for Carly those first few years?
Awful. Part of her delays prevented her from walking, from sitting up.
It was clear that Carly, like most autistic children, was lost and her own intervention was critical.
You use your fork.
So ever since Carly was 3, her therapy has been intensive, unrelenting.
This took about 40 to 60 hours a week of one-to-one therapy. She always had about 3 to 4 therapists working with her. And if you're not getting results with one approach, you move on and you try something else.
You didn't give up. You pushed Carly.
And when you look in Carly's eyes, you can see an innate intelligence. So we never gave up. We never gave up.
But if there was intelligence, Carly's ceaseless rocking, flailing arms, and tantrums hid any trace of it. Worse, she couldn't speak. Not a word.
I did not have any expectation that she would have a fluent form of communication.
You're going to be skeptical.
Everyone was, including her other therapists, who were now desperate to see proof. But Carly refused to type, exhibiting the same hysterical behavior that led experts to label her as mentally retarded.
She would strip off her clothes. She would go into the bathroom and she would engage in fecal smearing. So the typing was great, but no one could see it.
Here, show me.
What was needed was some tough love. If Carly wanted something, she would have to type for it.
First type, and then you get. Let's go.
Oh, she had to work for it. If she wanted information, if she wanted to go somewhere, she had to type by herself.
Finally, several months later, Carly began to type for others.
She started to realize that by communicating, she had power over her environment.
And what came through her finger, typing one letter at a time, with fluency no one could believe, was astonishing.
I am autistic, but that's not who I am. Take time to know me before you judge me. I am cute, funny, and like to have fun.
Through her torrent of words, Carly began to unravel the mysteries behind her often wild behavior. Like banging her head.
Because if I don't, it feels like my body is going to explode. It's just like when you shake a can of Coke. If I could stop it, I would.
Or so everyone
What
thought.
I would like to say with this, and I want to show you the follow-up to Carly's story, is that here was a young woman who, right, had lots of support, lots of therapies. They started using some behavioral approaches, right? Trying to get her, once they saw that she might be able to communicate more, trying to get her to use her voice through classic behaviorist techniques, so some reinforcements for that behavior. So she continued to make some progress. She is still non-verbal, but has done some awesome things today. And that's what I'd like to show you next. Give me one moment before I can cue that up for you.
He has been a stripper, a police officer, a secret agent, a reporter, a boyfriend to many, and soon he will dump his wife to be with me. Welcome, Channing Tatum. How about that, Channing? Would you date a 21-year-old person with autism?
Yes, if I got permission from my wife.
All right, I've got my lawyers working on your divorce papers as we speak. You're every.
So I just love Carly's story because it shows so much for us. It shows what an inclusive environment and what intensive therapies can do. And when we think about all of the tools and how much technology helped and how much her therapists helped and how this young woman is really extremely gifted and talented and twice exceptional. And she has autism and she's doing amazing things in the world. And those therapies started when she was young. And if they had not, the likelihood that she would be able to achieve what she has achieved today is very low. So you have a very important task in front of you and a very beautiful task as well. So having that love and support for our students, having the inclusive types of environment and the appropriate supports for them to flourish is key, of course, as always. I look forward to our week again together, and I hope to be talking with you again soon. Thanks so much.